So this is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster, and it is fairly late, but I watching a slew of things I wanted to get around to watching, including the two different Masters of the Universe series, and now I've watched Nimona, and here's another contender for Best Animated Feature of the Year, 2003. But it was technically a 2021 film that Blue Sky went out of production. Well, Blue Sky, poor Blue Sky, went out of business, and they ended up going over to yeah, going not finishing it, and apparently Netflix and the others picked it up and they'd finished it. You can kind of tell that another studio finished it, but that's fine. Yeah, and I like a movie that pisses off the right winger. And I like that it, like, somewhere in the story credits is somewhere deep within where this came from, is pitched to Disney about 9 years ago. It's kind of that story that Marx Cards and I pitched. So that's awesome too. Also that I also became Strange World in this one. But yeah, they apparently March Cards went to Blue Sky after that. Okay, they did it. Oh, okay. So yeah, no, he didn't. But it's very, very similar. Yeah, it's a mischievous kaiju pan film kind of thing. A pan being a fawn, or pan being like a shape-shifting chimeric creature movie. Chloe Grace Moretz, who is a fan favorite cast, who hasn't done anything recently, like the last, she did Neighbors 2 that I saw, and that awful space movie, the fifth wave. But she was most known for Hit Girl and of course the prequel, the sequel, the original of the Hit Girl and the Kick Ass. But yeah, she goes back to the American Girl movie, where she and Abigail Breslin and Bree Jensen were in that one, and Bree Jensen went on to be a folk singer of little as a child, and then dropped out of it finally. But Jensen, they're all connected to this movie from years ago, and she's a relative of some of the people from the church, and she's been in, and she was in other stuff after that, so that's cool. But not Chloe Moretz, but the other girl. So there's a connection to them going back in sort of a roundabout way. Anyway, so we have Chloe Moretz is now in her 20s, so, but she's playing a teenager in the movie. Well, she's a shapeshifter. We don't actually know how old she is. She's actually thousands of years old, it turns out. She's a creature, Nimona. I could totally see my nieces in New Jersey having written this. It's literally, it's not necessarily Ariel, it's Aaliyah. It's Aaliyah, the movie. But yes, that would make it a millennial movie, but with some Gen Z stuff thrown in for posterity. Yeah, because the hero is a millennial, and the Gen Z is the girl. Yeah, even though technically the girl is actually in her 20s. In real life, the actress is in her 20s. She's a millennial, but in this, she's a Gen Z. But yes, but yeah, but if she's 1,000 years old, she's older than all of them. Anyway, that doesn't really matter, because that movie's about this delightful character, similar in some respects to the plot and contrivances of the Awesome Turning Red movie. Very similar to that, in that creature that turns into creatures. In that case, it's a panda creature. See, this one's more of a Monsters Inc. angle thing than that one was. Yeah, the animation is similar to that of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is also Oscar contender. But this movie is, now that I've seen it, it is probably more of an Oscar contender, because that was to be considered a sequel. So I think what you'd have to do is you'd have to say, oh, well, this one gets original screenplay and stuff like that. Yeah, it's an original screenplay. Written by 4 or 5 different people. And yeah, that original pitch back in 2015, we didn't pitch for Star Trek, we pitched for Disney, and the original pitch was, instead of this whole conservation of a prince and princess finds a prince, let's have a prince find a prince. And they're all, it's too soon for that, we can't do that. So that was kind of the premise. But around the same time that they were about to release The Good Dinosaur, the guy that sounded a whole lot like Clint Cowpo playing the T-Rex. It wasn't, but it sounded a whole lot like him. But yeah, so we have, and we got to see a special screening of 8 minutes of that. We were there, so that's cool. But The Good Dinosaur. But in this case, Marx Cards saw this about a month ago or less, a couple of weeks ago. He is at Disneyland and Universal, and he sent pictures of the Mystery Machine. I'm not going to show them though. and Decepticon shirt with spangles around it, which would be awesome on a drag queen Transformer show. But yes, I'm sure this movie is ticking off the right winners. It's PG, but I think they're fairly, in the tradition of the South Park middle of the road kind of thing. The movie is fairly blunt about what it's doing. It only gives the appearance that it's causing chaos like Recess or something, or it's not grooming anybody. They might think that, but no, it's absolutely not. That's not what it's about. It's about this mischievous Pan type character. If you know from old mythologies and things like that, or a Loki or that kind of thing, there's always or a Q from Star Trek, kind of that idea. It's more of a chimeric Pan, actually. Genii, basically. Genii. A mischievous character trickster who comes into a story to cause trouble. In this case, befriending this knight who is wrongly framed for the death of the queen. He's going to be knighted, and his sword shoots energy beams. They have an interesting... Yeah, it kills her, and he's got on the run. And when he's on the run, he meets up with this Genii that shows up. This little pink Genii girl. Similar in style to those Monster High and some of the other ones. Kind of a sort of a pseudo goth punk. I would say she's more of a punk, though. I would say she's more of a Jersey style punk rock goth. Bright or yellow, bright pink hair goth, punk goth, yeah. But she's also transforms into creatures, and basically okay, we have the knight, and the knight's boyfriend is another knight, and we have that going on, that dynamic, and the boyfriend's got to try and find him and figure out what's going on. It turns out the director lady is evil, and that's fairly obvious, but it's a kids movie. It really is kind of a kids movie. It's not it's harmless. It really is. It's like the synergy of the characters in the story, even though they're expressing their sexuality differences, gender differences, it's not a plot device. It's just there. I like how the story just treats it as, oh, he happens to be, he happens to have been dating this night guy, and they're just dudes. They just happen to. It's set in this weird cross between a sort of cyberpunk feudal planet with a kingdom mixed in with Blade Runner and a number of other things. So I got these Blade Runner cop cars flying around, and Blade Runner taxis and things, and laser guns and laser beams and kaijus and things like that. And they got the city walled off, so it's reminiscent of the young adult fiction stuff that Cloverance would have totally been in and was. I can see why she'd want to do it. Like, yeah, this reminds me of that awful a couple of those awful movies. Saying I had to be in this. That's awesome. Yeah, and they're making a big deal over Nimona's character being gender fluid, but and the metaphor that's going on there and the simile, but the character herself doesn't actually ever come out and actually blatantly say that, which is interesting. Um, it's a metaphor. She's a because she's a pan. She's sort of a chimera. She's a chimera. Of course, it's got chimeras. Of course it has. Of course it has. It's a Kal Kat premise. It's a Marx Cards premise. It's of course she's a chimera. So she's a chimera, but they treat her as a monster because she's a chimera and she wrecks things. And that's not what trans people do. They don't wreck things. So that's not she's a chimera. The pan will go out and the fawn will go out and wreck things. Similar to Pan's Labyrinth. Remember that movie? Where they had a character like that in there. That was a trickster that was doing stuff. But that was not a kids movie. That was a dark Guillermo del Toro movie. But yes, the friendship that the guy has with his sort of the sidekick is reminiscent of Batman and the female Robin from the Miller years of Batman, which is awesome to throw back to that. She totally could play the female Robin from that. I understand Long Dark Halloween was also a thing, and it was similar. That's why I'd mentioned it. It's not a bunny trail. The character, is kind of like a goth there too, as well. Batman's gothic. Yeah, so that's similar. That's very similar. Yeah, so Teen Titans, that's kind of the thing going on. I take it the character is supposed to be like maybe 12. He says 10 at one point or 11, but also she's 1,000 years old. She's some sort of creature. There's some sort of element of it being that there's a place out there like that on the other side of the wall, that there's other creatures like her. I won't give away the whole premise, the whole thing. There's no point in doing that. Just in case you want to go see Nimona. Nimona. Wow. And it does sound similar to Ramona, one of my sisters who has the two daughters that live, and they're in New Jersey. She would like this movie. They would all like this movie. So yes, yes, but there's nothing wrong with the transsexual chimera girl or the protagonist being gay. Like, just get over yourselves, right wingers. Just get over yourselves. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing happens. There's nobody like French kissing each other or anything or doing anything untoward. Not at all. It's like hand holding or like, this is my friend, I'm gonna hug him. So that's it. There's nothing at all untoward in this movie. It's PG. It actually is less gay coded than the two He-Man things I just watched. Yes. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was on that. I still have the Netflix, but I put it on my account, so $12.99 a month on my account. But yes, but yeah, I had to go and make it worthwhile. So go watch some Netflix movies. It's a lot of fun. I won't give away what happened, but it was supposed to be Blue Sky and someone else. And the other actors aren't super well known in other things, so that's fun. But I'm not really punk rocker or a goth person at all. More of a poser, all rat. but it is interesting to see that type of thing as a story. I see lots of people doing that costume for anime. Hopefully. Ooh, yeah. Because it would be pretty easy to do her costume. Because it's just yeah. Somebody totally should. Somebody should go as the wolf version of her in the costume. That'd be cool. there is furry stuff in this. It's a wolf and a cat and other things. Cat behaves like a cat. Sorry, wolf behaves like a wolf. Evil director. Evil director threatening folks is clearly the bad guy. Break through the wall. There's kaiju at the end. Big kaiju battle thing. Destroy the bad guy that's going to arm the nuke and blow up the town. Because the bad guy's going to go scorched earth on this kaiju thing. But the hero is going to... Unlikely hero starts out as an antagonist, anti-hero almost, because the accident that he's framed for. And so yeah, I don't want to give away the ending. I want you to go and see the movie. It's definitely worthy of a... I guess because it's in the category of a Netflix movie, you could say, like, okay, you give the Across the Spider-Verse 2023 the award for Best Animated Movie. And then you could turn around and say, well, Best Online Movie. Then you can say it. Okay, Netflix is... Oh, no. See, I make a category for everybody in the Clara Awards. You see, I made a category for everybody. That way, Godzilla -1 gets Best Picture of the Year in Foreign Film category, without giving it Best Picture to others. There were some people complaining off and on about the Barbie movie, but the Barbie movie, I liked it. It's the Best Comedy category this year, perhaps, but not Best Picture of the Year. Come on, guys, no, that was probably Godzilla -1 or Oppenheimer. It just was, Across the Spider-Verse, Best Animated one. Yeah, so, Oppenheimer could get it for Best Drama. There you go. That's what they should do. They should separate these categories. Drama, comedy, sci-fi, thriller. That way, everybody wins. That way you have, you want your weepy Oscar dramas... Remaking The Color Purple, fine, get that too. But they didn't need to remake that. I didn't see it. I didn't see the remake. I saw the original. Didn't see the remake. Nimona, it's cute. It's very cute. Character is very plucky and outgoing and gregarious, and even though kind of dark ideas are happening, it's still PG. It's fine. Even the scary kaiju at the end is not... It's like an ink blot thing attacking. Looks like a cross between the No Face from Spirited Away and the Godzilla. A little bit of the Brushagon from Teen Titans, the movie, back in the day, which I'm okay with. That's cool. Do that. I'm curious to know how she's able to transmute her powers into giant, even like kaiju-sized things. I take it she's a force of nature, is what she is, under the sort of... That's a Zen and Buddhist elements and other elements from having known of some Korean culture from the martial arts school that he used to train at for almost 20 years, a long time ago. And they would have elements of that thrown in there, and it's kind of like that. So I enjoy the anime stuff and all that other stuff, not just because of that, because I like the anime stuff. So it's clearly a nod to Miyazaki in here, in this movie, and the art as well as a nod to that. Wasn't that, I think another animated one was the Lock It Up Girl, which was the nod to that as well, which was another Japanese animated. This was not Japanese animated, but it probably was at some sweatshop studio that Sky Blue was associated with. Blue Sky was associated with. But yes, it probably had some animators that were Japanese and Korean. But it looked more Korean than Japanese to me. That's fine. But yes, so Nimona, Nimona. Yeah, apparently her name means something, which the others in the story should have been able to figure out. That like her past is different from the other side of the village or whatever. Did she cause the other events to happen on her own, or then they show in some flashbacks that she caused things to break and be destroyed and stuff. And then they built the wall as a result. Or was she just a spirit that kept reincarnating itself? A la karma and stuff like that. It's a different thing, I suppose the uber rate evangelical Christians will be like, no, it's not a God in space. But no, it has nothing to do with that either. It's that they're demigods. She's a creature. She's a nature spirit. There's nothing wrong with having a story about a nature spirit in it. It's like, come on. Oh yeah, it's like it's not something you would see normally. You don't see chimeras running around, so or pans or whatever. It's very original. It is based on a graphic novel, so check out the graphic novel. That it is actually based on something, and I assume they did a good job doing an animated version of the graphic novel. I'm not familiar with it, but yeah, I haven't heard any comments on YouTube saying it's not like the novel. So apparently they did a good job on that end. But yeah, mainly it was right wingers complaining that there was a gender fluid teenager in a movie. They weren't complaining about the gay main character, the gender fluid teenager tripped them out. But she's played by a 20-something-year-old lady that's not. So yeah. But yeah, playing a teenager. So, and she's technically thousands of years old. So, or who knows how old she is really. She's an alien, so, or a chimera or something. A pan. Genii. Yeah. So yeah, it's perfectly fine. It's fun. It's one of the best movies of the year. There's nothing that's gonna make anything like. I could see also there's parts in it where they're sort of spoofing propaganda quite a lot, and they're spoofing the frame up thing is propaganda type of thing. Let me go on that. But if anything, the evil blonde lady mastermind behind the whole thing is less a spoof of like current politics and stuff, more a spoof of Hillary Clinton. That doesn't have anything. Maybe the graphic novel was written back in 2016 or something. Just spoof on that. But I would say, yeah, she's not supposed to be like a Trump allegory. She's Hillary Clinton. She's yeah, it's fairly obvious that's what the character's supposed to be. So it's actually making fun of both sides by having that go on. But like South Park, it takes the middle of the road and it says, okay, we're not going to go that deep into the propaganda stuff. We're going to say this lady is supposed to be the evil one because she's tricking them, but there's a monster thing on the other side that's tricking them. So yeah, she visually looked like Hillary Clinton, but isn't. I get what they're doing. They're using that in a similar way to the gender swapping of Trump to Hillary Clinton in the movie, just to spoof them both together at the same time. Similar to the South Park, not South Park. Well, yeah, the South Park one with the South Park one with Kathleen Kennedy. It's like that too. Yeah, it's like the Cartman switching places with Kathleen Kennedy. It's like that one. Yeah, it is like that. It's like Panderverse. It's also a little bit like Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe, where the governor of Texas is the evil blonde lady. They changed Greg Abbott into Hillary Clinton, and then spoofed her, spoofed them. So yeah, So they're just confusing the right wing all the hell of this movie. They're just like, I can't make sense of this. Who is this person I have to root for? Well, the thing is, like, with these kind of movies, is cartoon movies, is you don't try to equate this really with Clinton or Trump or anything like that. Just go into the movie completely blank and say that I'm gonna have fun watching the movie. Don't equate anybody with anybody. It's not a direct comparison. It's completely out there. You could make the comparison, but it's very sketchy, and I don't know if you actually can. Um, so I would think the right wingers would just take it, oh, they're making fun of Hillary, and they would like the movie. Or you can say, oh, they're making fun of Trump, they made him a girl. Ha ha. Now, so they could take that. As they made him the evil director lady. Ha ha. But you could say that too, if you wanted to. But they did not exclusively mean that in the graphic novel. Or in the movie. It's sort of like that controversial movie about almost 20 years ago now, the V for Vendetta, where in the movie V for Vendetta, the V for Vendetta guy with the Guy Fawkes mask, he represented the rebels in that universe that were in England in a dystopian future, and he represented that, even though Guy Fawkes is referring to something centuries before, but in that graphic novel and the movie, he is a parody of a prime minister from back then who happened to be a lady named Margaret Thatcher. That's who they were spoofing. But of course, in that case, Miller actually said, "That's who I'm making fun of." He actually said, "That's who I'm making fun of." So yes, but yeah, in the movie they didn't quite do it right in the movie. They got in V for Vendetta. They got that element wrong. Although it absolutely freaked out one of my friends who saw that movie. He's like, "Oh my gosh, they shaved Natalie Portman's hair and they made her all dark and stuff." I said, "Dude, she's an actor. The director said, okay, you're gonna have to shave your head." Yeah, he freaked out about that part. I was just like, "Don't worry about that. She paid for it." Yeah, the director said, "Okay, we'll shave your head in this one scene." But you had to act all sad. It was like, no, that's just, no. She was fine. It'll grow back. Even Sigourney Weaver shaved her head. It was like, ooh, cool, in that one movie. Yeah. So Marx Cards responded to my comment. He said, "Indeed, I thought it was excellent." It was. It was very cute. I'm going to type. I said, "My liberal sister in Jersey would adore it." It was adorable. Yes. That's what I said. Oh my goodness. I'm sure she's seen it. Actually, I think Molly's seen it. A movie that's got a similar name to, yeah. Ramona. Anyway, so yeah, Moni the motor. All right, so yeah, I like that the story of the Mona story also has a direct delineation between these two characters. This 20-something knight and his other entourage. They're clearly coming of age characters in the 2020s, right? So they would be, yeah, late Gen Zers, and this Gen Zers meet up with this. She's not quite an alpha. She's not quite a Gen Zer. And it's the why me type of thing, because he's a why me, he's feeling sorry for himself. Yeah, the Generation X was the why me Generation X, that's us. Generation Y, or why me. Generation Z, the post millennials. Generation millennials, why me. It's even in the story. So there you go. There it is. It's in there. The girl is representing. Actually, the girl represents the previous generation because she's 1,000 years old. She represents the previous group, Yeah, if she's 1,000 years old, she represents a way off previous group that they've lost track of and lost sight of. Yeah, they could do a fascinating cultural study of a cartoon. Not just, no, we don't have to. But yeah. So yeah, go see, go rent it on Netflix. Yeah, this is not sponsored by Netflix in any way. Yeah.